Now, energy prices are in the spotlight again. Brent is topping $100 a barrel yet again. What is the fuel situation in Cambodia right now? Because we hear how Cambodians are cutting back on fuel usage on pretty much everything.
Just like the rest of the world, we are very concerned about the latest development. But what if we can draw from what we have seen in Cambodia is that our diversified sources have allowed us to be quite stable. So we do not have any interruption to industry or shortage in the country. And the good thing is also about our electricity, because we have 63% from cleaner sources. And that has enabled Cambodia to absorb the shock that otherwise it would be a much stronger shock. And this is to confirm that the path we are on is correct, that a national resilience comes from having many options, and it turned out to be that a cleaner option is the best we had.
On fuel, though, is it not an issue, especially in the rural areas, given how fuel prices are climbing?
The supply, our primary task is to make sure that we don't have interruption or shortage in terms of supply. And our diversified sources have enabled us to do that. Prices have escalated compared to the previous Hormuz crisis. But we have reduced taxes and duty and VAT, and therefore we have helped absorb the shock so that the pass-through effects, it will not be 100% to the consumers. And electricity prices have stood its ground. So we do not, and we have not increased electricity prices. That helps industry and businesses.
Can we be expecting more of that support, though? Because in terms of lost revenue, it's costing the government $50 to $60 million monthly. So what else can be done, given how these budget pressures are mounting?
We value our people and industry the most. In this difficult time, we want to make sure that industry continue to grow, at least keep their factory processes going, and household above this kind of problem. So if it were to take longer, we will continue to support our households, our industry, as long as it takes.
Okay. Talk to us about the future plans as well, because as part of the energy mix, LNG is coming on board, 900 megawatts worth of capacity by next year. What are the import plans for Cambodia?
Our target is to have at least 70% renewable by 2030, which is going to set Cambodia as the second country in Southeast Asia that has that high renewable share. And the reason why we are doubling down on renewable energy, because we believe in sustainability. We believe that our economy going forward will have to be based on sustainability. And as I said, this cleaner option has basically allowed us to absorb external shock better. There is no possibility that a country like Cambodia, being a small open economy, could insulate itself from every external shock or event. But what we can do is to make sure that our diversification and reliance on different sources of clean energy will also reduce external shock to Cambodia economy. So that's why we are doubling down. Gas, LNG, as a transition fuel, because it will have a role to play in the energy transition. So our 900 megawatts LNG power plant coming up will be that part of the transition that we may need. So at the end of the day, this will be within the lower 30% threshold, and the 70% will have to come from solar, wind, and hydropower, and biomass.
Understood. But where are you going to be importing from? What are some of the suppliers that you are negotiating with? Which countries so far?
For the 900 megawatts power plant, we are going to float a tender. And that will be a competitive process that we have already seen interest from the United States, from Canada, from Australia, from our region itself, and from the Middle East. So we will find out very soon when we actually float that tender and see who can offer the best competitive offer.
So it's about price?
It's about price and stability of the supply. We're looking at both.
So does that exclude the Middle East then?
We will cover all because the Middle East, despite the current crisis, we believe that in the future they will be able to be part of the supply chain for LNG. So we will not exclude anyone from this offer.
You talk about the U.S. as a potential supplier. What about the shipping costs that could be involved there? I mean, how do you offset that with the expectation that maybe there's a glut coming in the next couple of years and then costs might come down?
We'll have to see what it can offer, but we have like companies on the ground, even downstream here. We have Caltech, Chevron on the ground. We have Total Energy from France. We have others. So through their wide network, I think there will be something they could offer. So being the U.S. being a far away from Cambodia, but through their diversified portfolio in the region, I think perhaps they have some role to play.
The role of renewables. You talked earlier about how more than 60% of capacity is coming from that. How much more grid investment do you think needs to go into this as you grow renewables?
Our system we have today has attracted more than $33 billion in public-private financing. Alongside this, we have the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, AFD, JICA, KOICA, Korea, and even KfW, Germany in this together. Going down the road, we will need a little bit more, several billions more. But again, it goes into a few areas: generation, transmission, and storage. Now, if you look at the International Energy Agency statistic, every year generations receive about $1 trillion, but only about $400 billion go into the grid. So there's no parity there. But what is good about Cambodia, we are moving on both fronts at the same time. So we are investing in generation just like we are investing in transmission and storage, so that they all move in parity, and that we don't have any problem in terms of taking more intermittent renewable energy from further afield.
What about where those investments are coming from?
Diversified.
But a lot of it is coming from China. That's the reality.
Hydropower is predominantly from China, because China contractors are the most cost competitive. But when you look at transmission, international capital that come and finance local company at scale. For example, we have one project, 1,100 megawatts in one place. So in this cluster, we have more than 1,000 megawatts of solar panels, and we have 500 megawatts of battery storage. And this is a mixture of international financing delivered by Cambodian company. So we can see Cambodian company at scale, but we also see FDI at scale. We talk about another 1,000 megawatt pump storage hydro, which will allow Cambodia to integrate considerably more renewable energy resources in the future. And this is more than $1 billion from China and multilateral institution in terms of financing of transmission line. So we have international confidence at scale, but we can also see local company at scale. But the good thing about our grid is that we are introducing what we call grid forming technology, which is to make sure that we don't have to rely on coal for stability of the grid. So now we integrate a battery storage system into this, and Cambodia is one of the first country in the world to try this, and it is showing it's working. So we're making sure that our grid is staying at the frontier of system innovation.
What about the ASEAN power grid? That's been something that's been talked about for a very long time. What progress is actually being made on that front?
National system can be as strong as its worst day. And Cambodia believes that a more integrated energy market would be the way to go for us, ASEAN, ASEAN being ASEAN, to decarbonize in the most cost-effective way. And that is why Cambodia is a strong advocate of the ASEAN power grid. We believe that we can build ASEAN resilient together more cheaply and faster if we can pool our resources together to do this grid, and we can draw each other competitive advantages.